not a lot of things are happening in the sports world. But we're excited. It's our first day here. Obviously, official start of practice. Really excited about this group that I get to coach offensively as well as our offensive coaching staff. You know, I think when you look at the skill, the veteran presence that we have at our skill positions, with Talia coming back leading us at the quarterback position, and then obviously the skill players that we have, Jayshon Jones, Corey Dyches, Roman Hemby, a number of different players, Tyshar Fair, or Tyshar, and so, you know, Felton. And so we're really excited about all of those guys being able to contribute to our offensive success. You know, obviously there's going to be some key areas along the offensive line that we've got to continue to build depth, and we've got to stay healthy. I think that's a key piece whenever you're bringing in potentially four new starters. You've got to make sure that you develop those guys in camp, and that's what training camp is all about. We're excited about the competition. We've got a lot of guys that we feel like can help us win football games in the fall, and we're looking forward to it. So at that point, I'll kind of open it up for questions and kind of address anything there.
What does it mean to have a guy like Jayshon Jones on this roster in that room, leading new guys to the program via transfer or freshman?
Well, Jayshon's a guy that's a very savvy veteran, and in fact, I just found something interesting out about him yesterday. Obviously, that he's one of the only remaining players that we have from 2018 season, and supposedly his first few times touching the ball in college football, he created touchdowns. And so when you've got a guy that have played a ton of football, a veteran player, he's been through the ups and downs. He knows how to bring along the younger players. Obviously, from a dependability standpoint, we look at his skill set. He's a very dependable athletic receiver. And so being able to get him back, get him healthy and playing with tremendous confidence, we look forward to the return that's going to bring us.
Hey, Josh, Gene Wong with the Washington Post. Mike's talked about, you know, realistically competing for Big Ten championships. You haven't been at other Big Ten schools. Kind of what are the habits and kind of the culture you need to install to make sure that you guys can compete for those championships?
Well, when you throw that word out, you got to develop the desire to be champions at that point. This is a very, very tough and competitive league. I've got a tremendous amount of respect. I think this is my 9th season in the Big Ten. I've been fortunate enough to be a part of the Big Ten, be a part of the ACC, be a part of the SEC, and there's no greater conference in this league that we're in. Obviously, this is probably the last year of the true Big Ten, I would like to say, you know, where there's an East and a West, and obviously as we continue to expand in the state of college football, it's going to create excitement with the Big Ten brand being able to spread out west. But you know, I think the time is now for this program. I think when you look at what Coach Loxley has built here, you look upon last season and the success that was had. You know, you look at the skilled players returning. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to accept the challenge and really not settle for just having success, but pushing the bar even further and further. Our kids understand the importance of that, and that's what this camp is all about. You got to work very hard. I've been fortunate to be around 2 different programs that have won this league. And before you do it, you've got to develop that desire. You've got to speak it into existence. And we got to go out there and work for a common goal each and every day. And so our kids understand the importance of this season. We're excited to get it started today.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. Obviously, you get a chance to build off the spring ball, go in, and you know, we touched on the familiarity between you and Loxley, but just kind of going into fall ball, obviously with 15 practices ahead of you, how would you kind of assess maybe the players picking up maybe the new tendencies in the playbook and the terminology and whatnot?
You know, I think from a skill, they did a really good job in the spring, and obviously being able to carry over that momentum. I think we've got a ton of depth. I know obviously we lost 3 returning starters at the wide receiver position, but I'm kind of even more excited about the young guys that we have and some of the guys we brought in. Obviously, Caden Prather being a newer guy coming into the program, and then the depth that we have at running back. So I'm really excited from a skill standpoint. I think the biggest adjustment for us right now from end of spring to now is we brought in 2 newcomers on the offensive line. 2 guys that probably we're going to lean on to help try to contribute, try to create some roles. We got to continue to build some depth. One of our challenges we had in the spring is I think we finished with 9 healthy offensive linemen. And so, that's always a challenge in your practice preparations as far as not having the depth there, because it hurts you everywhere else. It hurts you at the skill because you can't go 1s, 2s, and 3s. And so for us, it's about getting all of our guys back up front, creating a healthy, competitive environment, and figuring out our best 5 up front to be able to help us win games in the fall.
How's it going, Coach? Sam Cohn, Baltimore Sun. You mentioned the depth of the running back room. I'm curious, from your perspective, what makes Roman Hemby different or unique among that group?
You know, I think it's his mental preparation that he performs at each and every day. I think he's a guy, tremendous trust factor, right? Like to always talk about the most important ability that you can have at the collegiate level is accountability. He's a guy that prepares each and every day. Obviously, he had a ton of success last year, just fell short of 1,000 yards rushing. But he does everything right. You know, I think the next step for Roman is obviously creating that extra yards after contact at the second and third level. And he understands, obviously, the expectations of him. But, you know, prepares extremely well. You know, I think Antoine had a tremendous spring as well as Kobe. And so even Ramon. And so, you know, when you've got quality depth at the running back position in this league, that means a lot. You know, and we're excited about Nolan Ray, a true freshman, coming in here this summer. He's done some impressive things in the weight room and outside training. But as you know, this league, you know, later in the season, you've got to be able to run the ball, and you got to be able to run the ball to win. Obviously, you got to score to win championships. You got to be able to run the ball to close those games out. And so we feel like the depth we have there will help us tremendously in the run game.
George Gerbo, Washington Times. I kind of wanted to ask, from your previous stops, just to hear now, guys like Talia, guys like Roman, Hayden, do you have any comps for guys you've coached in the past to these guys now and what their potential could be in this offense?
Yeah, you know, I won't, you know, I think every player is different. And I won't put comparisons on our guys. I will tell you I am excited about them. I'm very excited about their ability. You know, I think each guy's different. You know, I think we're all coming to grow together right now. You know, I'm constantly reminding the quarterbacks how excited I am about them as a group. You know, and I really feel fortunate that we have great kids in our program, and I think that's the first thing that we got to acknowledge. You know, we've got some talented young players that, you know, have great athleticism. You know, they've played college football at a very high level, but they're even better people. And so when you surround your program with the right nucleus of people, that's going to spread. And when we go back talking about championships, you got to develop it with a championship culture. And I love the culture of this program. I love the culture that Coach Loxley has instilled into these players, and we're excited as we move forward.
Wayne Viner, Terp Talk. What is a Josh Gattis offense, and how does that help Maryland win? What's the difference from what the Terps were doing before?
Well, I don't know. That's not a Josh Gattis offense. This will be a Maryland offense. So we've got a great staff. I say that, you know, every place I've been, it's not about the person calling the plays. It's about the people running them. And your players allow you to create the identity of your offense. And this is a player-driven sport. A good coach with bad players is a bad coach. A good coach always wants to be surrounded by good players, and we've got good players. And you know, we will be as good as our players allow us to be. This comes down to the Jimmies and Joes, and so we've got to develop our players. We got to pour in. We got to invest in them. We got to develop them off the field just as much as we develop them on the field. And so the identity of this offense will be determined. But the system is the system. This system has been in place for years. This system is one that I'm very familiar with. Obviously, my time working under Coach Loxley as his assistant. And Coach Loxley has done a tremendous job building this system offensively to allow our players to have success.
Coach, it's pretty rare, these days in college football to have a four-year starting quarterback. What's it been like for you stepping into a program and having a quarterback with so much experience and 4 years of starting experience here?
Well, I've been living my happiest days in my coaching career, and I tell those guys all the time, now I get to deal with the quarterbacks. I get to be in that room. I get to talk to those guys. Previously, my whole career I've spent having to coach the wide receiver room. And when you've got a tremendous coach like Coach Brewer, who's got a ton of experience developing wide receivers, that takes relief off my plate. And as you know, throughout this game, I don't think it's a joke by any means. It's much easier coaching quarterbacks than it is wide receivers. You don't have to deal with the drama or any of the moods. And so it's been refreshing and fun. And when you look at that room with Talia, with Billy, with Cam Edge, with Jaden, and then with Champ coming in, I mean, we just got a great group of guys, man. We had a very heart-to-heart yesterday, and I just love coaching those young men in that room. And they're very supportive of each other. They get together quite often. They're friends off the field and in the building. And when you've got that type of chemistry in a room, that's just going to spread to everyone else. And so I feel very fortunate that we have that type of group of players at the quarterback position, and it's our job to continue to develop those guys.
Hey, Coach, kind of building off that, how impactful does it of having a starter with so much experience with such a new receiver room? He's worked with so many different guys. Just how much easier does it make it to kind of be as comfortable as possible early in the season?
You know, I think obviously tremendous trust factor that our players have in Talia. You know, his game experience, what he's done, the records he's set. Our players and everyone in our program truly believes in him. But I think when you look at our skill players, although we have some new faces, we have tremendous amount of depth and experience. You know, Ty has made big plays in big games. Corey Deitch has caught a lot of balls. Caden has caught a lot of yards at previous institutions. Talk about Jay Sean. Octavius is the guy that you saw last year that played as a young guy. And so we've got some guys that are stepping up, that are creating roles for themselves. And, you know, we're really excited about that, you know. And so, we continue to build and develop those guys, and we're excited about what this camp will show.
Hi, Coach. David Barnes from CTV News. I've got another question about Talia. Right? For him, as you've said, a quarterback with his experience and success here at Maryland, what were some of the first things you talked to him about? You said you were excited to work with him, but what was something he was excited to see about you, and how were you challenging him?
You know, I think our relationship goes back to his recruitment, obviously being a part of a staff that had recruited him when he was committed to us, and obviously familiarity with family. But for us, anytime you're coming in as a new staff, you want to try to find ways that you can help improve or enhance another player's game. And so we went back to some things that we felt like were critical to being able to take the next step. And I think, first off, to acknowledge a player like that having the opportunity to leave, having an opportunity to go on and potentially go to the NFL, for him to come back and show his commitment into this program, into his commitment into Coach Loxley speaks a lot. You know, I think it talks about the character of the young man that leads this team, and it talks about the relationships he also has, because he enjoys being a Maryland football player. And when you've got guys that enjoy being a part of this program, you can do a lot with them. And so Talia's a guy that you can coach. You know, he's always, thirsty for knowledge. He's always looking for a way to improve. And we're excited to continue to just try to find ways that we can enhance his game. He's obviously a really good player. I don't think there's much that you have to continue to develop with him, because he is, he's pretty well off. But we'll continue to find ways to enhance it.
Alyssa Miriam, Terps.com. Coach, you mentioned the transfer wide receivers, Caden Prather, Tyrese Chambers. What in the spring specifically impressed you the most about them, and how much is their experience going to help you guys this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's so many receivers. I even forgot to mention Tyrese. Like, Tyrese has been awesome. You know, he's a guy that came in from another institution, caught a ton of yards and catches. Obviously had a big spring game, but it allows you to have depth at the skill position. Most importantly, it allows us to be flexible as far as in our packages. I think we're going to find creative roles for all of those guys. And I think, as the season gets going, I think it'll be exciting that we've got, one of the top skill positions in this league. And I think this league is obviously a league that starts up front, but if you can create an advantage for yourself out on the perimeter, I think that leads to success. And so we've got to continue to develop that room. I think we've got a chance to be even better. And I won't shy away from that for those guys. I've got tremendous faith and confidence, and I know we lost some big players, but I'm excited about the depth and playmakers that we've got in that room. Oh, Coach Sumlin's awesome. I mean, there's not a funnier or better guy. Just a genuine, great person. Previously, I had just known of him from afar. We've kind of shared some mutual friends, shared some mutual people that we've worked together. But during those times in the past, I'd always heard stories about Coach Sumlin, how great he is to work for, how great of a person he is. And then obviously coming on staff, just a tremendous asset. I mean, I don't care if it's in recruiting or football. You go through his track record. You go through the players that he's been around, the quarterbacks he's been around, the development. you're talking about a coach that is at the absolute highest level. And so the tremendous amount of respect I have for him, what he brings our offensive staff, and what he brings our offense. You know, we like to use the term the OG. Well, he truly is. You know, the OG on our staff, and especially on the offensive side. And so just tremendous asset for us all. Obviously, all of our offensive coaches I feel great about. And I feel great about that room of coaches, the men, the leaders, the teachers, the developers that they are, that we're going to come together collectively and develop an offensive system that allows to put our players in position of success.
Josh, you addressed the offensive line earlier, 4 new starters. In your coaching career, have you dealt with a situation like this where 80% of the guys are going to be new? And what have been some of the keys to getting that unit up to speed?
Well, yeah, just previously I went through that issue, but hope to not have the same outcome. But it's definitely a concern when you don't have experience coming back at that position. And more so anything, I think the biggest concern is depth. You know, it's hard to do anything if you don't have an offensive line. This is not a game that you can play in a 7-on-7 format as the season gets going. So we've got to be smart in what we do. We got to be smart in how we protect those guys, because as soon as that position falls apart, typically your team and your offense falls apart. And you know, unfortunately, you know, I have been around that just, you know, previously in the past. But you know, I think you know, Coach Braswell does a great job developing offensive linemen. Obviously, for us to lose 3 guys onto the National Football League, potentially could have lost 4. You know, I think you know, we had a 4th player with an option, but obviously to being able to come back and return and lead that offensive line group, we've got to raise those guys up fast. Now, the good thing is we brought in some transfers in the spring and then post-spring that have played college football at other places. And so now it's about coming together collectively as one unit. You've got to make 5, and you've got to turn them into 1. You know, they've got to speak the same. They've got to walk the same. They've got to have those 5 critical trust factors that we talk about offensively to build that trust up front with each other to allow everyone else to build trust in them. But, you know, collectively as a unit, we're going to support those guys. We're going to put our arm around them. And just like every other position, we're going to bring every position along together until that first game, and we'll continue building. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.